Switch 2 is just around the corner. To sum it up, what are your hopes and concerns that need to be addressed when you'll get the console in your hands? I guess that's a question about what we don't know about the system that might be worrying you a bit. But Tom, what are you sort of thinking about on this one?
I think most of my concerns were in terms of the software quality that we're getting first party side has been allayed with that event we went to, Rich.
Mm-hmm.
I was that instilled some confidence in me that I put the pre-order money down and I'm sure I know what I'm getting from it now, and it's good. The only kind of blind spots I guess I have are the state of the backwards compatibility to Switch 1 titles, whether there'll be any issues at all, where they might crop up. And that's something, given the huge scale of the library there, will be quite arduous to test. But I'm sure with the, forums filtering through everything, every game will get a wind of what are issues, if any. And the other bit was the back compat with Gamecube titles. We saw some oddities, I guess, with that 50 hertz running of F-Zero
Right,
GX,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
which I'd like to follow up on, actually. People rightly pointed out in that direct that there was, and I saw this when I was doing Capture, there's a switch between 60 and 50 hertz on the PAL version. So if they were running the PAL code, it's maybe that they selected the wrong one of those two. So easily fixed if that is the case. But if there are drops or frame pacing issues in Zelda still at launch, because I didn't really see much in the actual playing of it, whereas we did in the Nintendo Direct Treehouse showing of Zelda Wind Waker. So I think those two parts, mostly the back compat support, are the things I'd most like to test.
Okay. Oliver.
Yeah, in terms of concerns, I would say that portable mode is a concern, or maybe more of just a question mark. Because if you think about it, if games are doing a reasonable job of hitting 1080p docked, whether native or with upscaling, that doesn't necessarily bode too well for the portable mode hitting similar resolution figures on a 1080p panel. Because the portable mode has about half the GPU clock, or about 55-56% of the GPU clock, and only about 2/3 the bandwidth of the docked mode in that portable mode. So relative to Switch 1 at launch, at least with the launch GPU frequencies, Switch 2 has a higher proportion in portable mode of the docked GPU clock, but a lower proportion of the docked bandwidth. And then weirdly, of course, this higher CPU clock, which is slightly enigmatic, but perhaps has some utility there. So exactly how that shakes out, I'm not sure. The fact that the screen is a 1080p panel as opposed to a 720p panel is a little bit annoying, perhaps for some games that are a little bit more boundary pushing and could possibly hit a 720p target, might really struggle to hit a 1080p target. But again, I just want to see those portable experiences and see how they actually fare. In the longer term, one concern would be how well the Switch 2 fares by the mid-generation mark, when PC gaming handhelds are more common perhaps, and critically when Sony and Microsoft are likely to have their own handhelds out in the market by like 2027, 2028. I don't think personally, even though there are a lot of handhelds out there in the market, I think that the quality and console-like character of Switch 2 really puts it in a universe of its own, and I would expect it to sell out, even on day one, far more units of Switch 2 than all the PC handhelds combined, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I don't think that it has much competition now in terms of what people are actually looking for in a gaming handheld, but when Sony has their own portable PS5 console out, their own portable PS5 concept of a console out, does it take some shine off Switch 2, and especially when like SteamOS is everywhere and all these other things that we expect to happen over the next few years. In terms of hopes, I'm just hoping and kind of begging for different ports to the system. So I'd love to see some big JRPGs from Square Enix and Atlas. I'd love to see a Final Fantasy XIV port to the system in particular, that MMORPG. I think that would be really cool. I'd love to see some ports from Microsoft. Doom the Dark Ages would be at the top of my list in terms of titles I'd like to see. I have like 190 odd hours played on Doom 2016 on Switch 1, so I really do like those Doom Platinum games in portable mode on Switch. I'd also love to see Halo Master Chief Collection, and possibly like Forza Horizon 5. Maybe that would not work so well without the analog triggers, but that would be a very cool title to see as well. I'd also love to see Nintendo bring a lot of really high quality GameCube software to the platform. I'd love to see titles like Burnout 2 perhaps, or Mario Kart Double Dash, those games. I'd also love to see them bring Wii titles into their emulation catalog at some point. Obviously that has some controller issues, but there are certainly some games like Mario Kart Wii, for instance, which don't present any compelling controller issues that could be played with a traditional controller without issue, and many titles only have some level of Wiimote functionality that could actually be integrated into the game with like a touchscreen input or a thumbstick input or something, or a gyroscope input, right? There are lots of alternative controller methods for Wii, and I would personally be disappointed if by the end of the generation, Nintendo did not have some level of Wii emulation on the device. So yeah, just a few thoughts there. I think my outlook is mostly fairly positive here, but I would like to see portable mode. I would really like to see portable mode operating in a good state in a lot of software.
Yep. I agree with all of that from both of you. I think the thing that I'm actually hoping and concerned about is battery life. The fact that you've got essentially a 20 watt-hour battery in there, and they're saying a minimum of 2 hours battery life, does suggest a 10 watt cap for complete system throughput, which is not a lot of power, and certainly not a lot of power when you've got an 8 nanometer processor. So yeah, the idea that you've got this minimum of 2 hours battery life, is that really the case? Are there going to be games that actually push the GPU hard so you actually get less than 2 hours of battery life? I'm really interested to see how all of that pans out, because, you know, Cyberpunk, for instance, just as we saw from the footage earlier, you know, there does seem to be the case that GPU is being pushed hard, CPU is being pushed hard. Is that operating with a 10 watt power limit? And it's not just for the processor. I mean, that would be quite an impressive feat just for the processor alone. That 10 watt power budget has got to include the screen, an HDR screen, no less. It's got to include the memory, the storage. You know, there's a lot going on within that 10 watt power budget, which makes me wonder whether the 2 hour battery life thing is true or false or dependent on the game. I'm really looking forward to finding that one out. But otherwise, yeah, there's a lot of hopes and concerns, which I guess we're only going to be able to figure out once we actually go hands-on with the system.